Good morning, everyone. It is Tuesday, June 8th. This is Nadex Morning Analysis. My name is Todd Rich. I'm with Nadex. With me from Keep Trading Simple, my good friend, Brian Caprice. We are going to look at a couple of hot spots this morning. Uh, Not a lot of news going on in the markets, but before we jump over and take a look at what's going on, I do have to share this quick disclaimer that trading on Nadex involves risk and may not be appropriate for all. That any trading decisions you make are solely your responsibility and at your own risk. And lastly, this is an educational session. Please do not construe anything Brian or I say as a buy or sell recommendation. We're doing this for your education purposes. So with that, I know we are going to be having a full-blown across the board discussion in 3 hours. And so midday, we're going to do, or late morning, we're going to do a whole analysis. What's going on across the board? What are we seeing? What's the price action look like? But before we get there, we can do a little bit now. Again, very quiet. I think people are sort of waiting around to see how the market's going to react to the number on Thursday regarding inflation. With that, Brian, let's just take a look at a couple of spots this morning. I'll let you choose, and maybe an indice and maybe the energies. I don't know. We'll just take a peek around.
Yeah, I mean, so far today, I wouldn't say there's anything. Everything that was moving yesterday kind of is reversing today. Again, like I said, it's been a very kind of shallow news week this week. And again, we had some European data, which really wasn't, the economic sentiment was not as high. If you guys remember me talking about this, that maybe they're starting to overshoot the economic sentiment. And it looks like they did. They overshot. So that came in. We haven't seen a huge reaction from it. It's been kind of pulling back a little bit, but I think, again, trading the euro versus say the dollar or the pound, it's interesting. As negative as this is, there's been news earlier today about the EU is warning the UK again, kind of getting more aggressive on things. And again, there's been some issues with the internet. If you guys didn't know today, the UK has had it, and then again, the United States had it as well. Websites, including the UK government websites, CNN, New York Times, The Guardian, a bunch of different, kind of down. They've supposedly uncovered the problem and they're working on it, but again, that doesn't actually help your country when websites are actually down. So it's kind of messing it up a little bit. And again, that's one, if you're not sure, it's it's right here. I mean, Twitter is affected, YouTube, Twitch has been affected. So a lot of big names out there have been included with it. I would say right now, I mean, as far as what's moving, we've seen, and again, you guys can see this big hiccup. You're like, what happened right here? Well, that was the internet outages that we saw. Really, we've had sideways movement since yesterday. If we take the gap, we can see that we've had a level that's been kind of what I would call an area of interest level, right? In the ES. We've had some basing here, some basing again. It popped up, used it as a kind of a top again. And then it was the top right before the crash and then came back up and based again. So it's kind of a sticking point right here around the 42.31 area. You guys can see this red dotted line up top, and that's sitting at 42.38, and that was the high that we reached a couple months back or whatever, back over here. Actually, I guess in May, so 1 month ago. I think it's within reach. I mean, I would say right now, everything we're talking about, all the news out there, you can see it. There's numerous articles talking about, marking time ahead of this week's big events. Everybody knows right now that the big event is going to be on Thursday. There's been a bunch of different news about it. Look, you can see this is slow actually processing as well. Everybody is looking at this retail sales. I'm sorry, the PPI and the retail sales numbers on Thursday. Where is it? Thursday, right here. The CPI number, right? It's huge, right? Everything's going to be transient. There was actually an article that I wanted to read, and just to put everything into context. And again, the news release is not till Thursday, but it affects where the market can go today. Because again, if you're expecting high, inflationary numbers, that's not necessarily good for the overall indices. So today is really the day for the indices to kind of go beforehand. But what I saw was that the consumer price index for May is expected to rise 4.7% over last year. This would be the most since 2008. On a core basis, which strips out the volatile cost of food and gas, which we know we've been talking about those being very high, and is preferred by policymakers, right? Policymakers, the interest rate people, right? Yep. Prices are expected to rise, and this is core, 3.4%. This print would be the hottest annual core inflation reading since the early 90s. And what have we heard from the Fed so far?
Transitory.
It's going to disappear. It's all gone. Don't worry about it, guys.
Nothing to see here.
Kind of like this, right? So, I mean, that's what the news is starting to be. And when you look at the overall markets, again, that type of situation, we know that that's not good for the indices, but the Fed is taking this, nah, it's going to disappear. We're not worried about it. It doesn't exist. It's fake, right? It's the whole fake news thing. And again, we're watching the indices rise back even after the internet pop, right? After the internet popped down and went back up again. Again, I think today we have the ability to go higher, like we mentioned yesterday. And then gold is doing kind of the same thing. Gold is dropping as everybody's starting to hear about it. Here was kind of that indecision. And then all of a sudden it's like, all right, let's talk about U.S. news. What do we got going on here? Data didn't look great. And again, things starting to push back down again. So it's not like gold is off to the races and preparing. Remember, what gold wants to do is gold wants to go lower. And again, this is a 15-minute. Let me go back to the 30. Gold is going to want to go lower, right? We talked about if it broke through, look for it to go lower. And it did. It went down and it found buyers. Again, this is very hard to get through this chunk of area. Love seeing a big candle like this because it clears out a lot of this junk with these, tiny bodies and big wicks. But again, gold is going to want to go lower in preparation for that news. So, it's kind of an interesting play. Again, indices, I would say, watch this one to break today. I wouldn't be surprised if this one goes higher. NQ, same thing. Again, had its little internet, bubble hick there. And again, we talked about that being a takeoff level, and YM as well. YM, what did we talk about yesterday? We were sitting here. We talked about a grinding down for a UK Open today, looking for a positive result, right? Looking for it to go higher. Right now, it is definitely higher. Now, again, could I predict the Twitch? Yeah.
We don't know what that was.
Yeah.
That was so bizarre.
It was a guy that was doing digging and didn't call Miss Utility. That's what it was. He cut a line or something, right? And all that was a flash down and a flash back up again. And remember, Todd, you mentioned it yesterday that of the different products, we're always trying to match up binary, call spread, or knockout bracket. This is another learning opportunity. Depending on what it was, if you were in a knockout here, a spike like this could have taken you out, right? If you were in a call spread, guess what? It didn't matter in the slightest bit. So again, that's why some people are like, I'm just purely binary, purely knockout. There are pros and cons to every single one of them, So again, if you looked at this in the overnight and said, hey, listen, Brian said it yesterday, 34,549. That was an area, if we got down to there for the UK Open and had you looked at it here, before you went to bed, you say, hey, listen, we're close. Put a limit order in, could have got into that call spread. And guess what? Even call spread or binary, okay, great. It would have went negative. You would have had the ability to lose the max you put into it, right? Including the fee. And now what is it? You're back positive again. So it's an interesting place. And I would say of the three, I think all of them have the ability to go higher. This is obviously not at the high mark. I would say with the open coming up soon, watch out for a small level right here. Again, typically we like to do the indices on the 15-minute candles. And you can see that there was basing. I'll remove this. We don't need it anymore. But you can see that we had this little area of basing here, right? So we have kind of two levels that's got to chunk through. It doesn't mean that it can't do it. But for it to really go back up and test, again, I wouldn't be surprised if we can kind of come up and start basing. Any positive news, or if people see the ES, right now the ES is green, the NQ is green, YM is flat, meaning that this is the weaker of the three. But as long as those two hold their green, this one will probably get drug up higher. And again, once you get through these two little potholes, look for price to be able to come up to this 34. I'll change it. 34,788 level, because again, we just had three quick candles with no wicks, and again, it break above 34,819. Also goes into the fact that ES is high. Again, NQ is also, obviously you can see there's no candles. We are going high, but it's not the highest. And again, YM is in the same situation where we start breaking through.
On the Dow, let me just show real quickly. It's kind of interesting because while you were talking, I just did a quick Fibonacci retracement just to see where we are on these levels that you're talking about, and that first level, that very first, if we can get through that first, you said chunk through that first little hiccup, that actually is a 61.8 Fibonacci level. So if it can get through that, could we see that higher level that you were talking about up above 34,800? Yeah, because that's really means it's just kind of got to get through this. But it is a level, interestingly enough. So, and
I'm okay with that. Like I said, I like when the levels, my supply and demand, are combined with fibs. But a lot of times you will see a 61.8 is used more as a stop loss than versus an entry, which is good because if it hits a stop loss and people are wrong, they got to start selling this very, very quickly. And again, when sellers want to sell, they start jacking the price. So it's just one of those things. Which is great, when people are trying to get out of those trades. So, yeah, I'm good with that one. If it breaks through, I would say the other thing again. I mentioned gold in there briefly as well. I think the energies, we need to cover different energy. Oil has been kind of literally chopping back and forth. Yesterday we talked about if we got a break of the 68.81, and it did. It came all the way down, kind of reset here in the overnight, touched it again, and then again the 3 o'clock time frame. We got back in that same level where there were some buyers. We didn't make it all the way down to where we wanted to go, but again, it came up, and then touched again. I would say right now it's kind of moving more sideways, and again, you can see that this has been a level that, again, touch. You expected it to break, and it did. Touched it again on the opposite side, which again we expected. And now, right now, I'd say it's probably running out of steam. So, it's got a little bit to chunk through. I think this is important to look at this area right here. I'll turn it orange so it's a little bit different color. You can see we had a very healthy kind of push to the downside. It's a grind, but again, an impulse correction, strong impulse correction, and it kind of made this kind of new term trend here. Now it's having a hard time being able to break back through. As far as areas where we could see additional shorts coming in, this area here is probably where we're looking at. Again, up here at the 69.09 level. It's a smaller time frame level. Like I said, there's no news today really to drive this. And again, that's why we're seeing really in the overnight a lot of chop, and we just had this kind of push back down yesterday, but it went off that larger level. Yeah. I would say right now with oil inventory reports tomorrow, we got to see kind of where it's going to stabilize. Let me see if they put that oil.
And actually, while you find that, I just want to. This is just kind of interesting because I'm just going to bring up the chart from last week. We haven't touched this since last Wednesday. I mean, we know oil was in this upward trend. In fact, I'm going to extend the. Well, I'm going to have to extend it, and I'm going to have to fix it because I extended it and it doesn't quite. There's that trend. It did finally break out of that upward trend. I mean, it's gone sideways. But it's is this a turning point for oil? I mean, it's up at near $70 a barrel. Yeah. Now just below. We know that at some point, even if they're talking about, we'll see what the OPEC countries and the oil producing countries want to do when they can start getting this kind of money. You'd think they'd want to start cranking more of it out, monetize it as much as they could. So. It'll be interesting to see. Like I said,
we have the API figure that comes out later on today at 4:30. So again, a way to play this. And again, I can do our little boxes so we stay consistent with this. 3 o'clock time frame is here. To 8:30. Go there. I missed it by just a little bit. There, we'll go blue. So you can see as far as our big little goes, I would say it's probably an average day. And all you can see is, look, we went down, went up, went down, went right back up again. So not really any true kind of movement off of this position. And we talked about a level a little bit lower. So, I would say right now today, I would probably look for a little bit of a pop, and then again, maybe a slight rollover from that 69.09. I think the way to play this would be later on today. Wait to see what, again, Nadex will be closed down when we get a lot of this information. The API typically comes out at 4:30, I believe. Yeah. Get that 4:30 figure, see what they're kind of telling us. Remember, they are different figures. Last week, again, they coincided. There was the API figure was about double. The EIA number was 5 times as much. So they're not exact, but it may give us an idea of where to position things in the overnight. So a way to play it is look at that API number, look to see kind of where we grind to today, whether it be up or down. Remember, historically, and I say historically, but what we've seen over the last 6 months is we've seen a lot of movement in the European session based off of the preparation for oil. So we may see that number come in. We can see where we're at, look for the Nadex contracts to reprint, and then maybe go back into those call spreads and see, again, the call spread, because if it does kind of whip against us a little bit, it will protect us. And again, get them when they're fresh and give us, something there. And if not, it's tomorrow morning 2 hour. Yeah. If not tomorrow morning, short duration.
If you're looking for that calendar number, here's the calendar that you could take a look at. I just dropped that into the chat. I also put in the link for today where Brian's going to be doing a full-blown analysis in exactly 3 hours, and we'll go through everything. We'll see where the market's open and sort of discuss what we might see for the rest of the day, as well as setups potentially for tomorrow. And oil would be one of them. And then obviously we're going to be talking about those inflation numbers that everyone's sort of waiting for on Thursday. Do you have anything else for now, or do we want to save it for?
Yeah, I do have one thing parting. It's not necessarily something we could trade at Nadex, but I just want to let you guys know I thought that the AMC GM, what is it, GMA? GME. I thought that whole kind of experiment was very, very interesting, and I saw it this morning that they have now picked a third one. There is a new one out there that I didn't even know existed anymore.
What's the new one?
BlackBerry.
Oh no! Oh, I have
I
been
didn't even
following
know
the
the BlackBerry was
BlackBerry.
around still. I
Yeah,
didn't
yeah,
even know
yeah.
they were around.
So
But yeah, they
it
said
was a running
BlackBerry
joke
is the
in our
new one.
office.
Yeah.
We were joking. Well, what's going to hit 100 first? AMC Theater or BlackBerry?
They said
And
50 bucks. They said
I said,
50. They called their shot. I was like, what?
"What? I
Yeah.
sold my old BlackBerry to an antique store for 50 bucks."
Yeah. I I mean, people love BlackBerry. I didn't even know it was still around, to be honest with you. Yeah, it's a $15 stock now, so I couldn't believe it. I was like, "What?" Yeah, that was
Yeah.
their next call. Because remember, silver, they're not really talking about silver as much because it's not where they expected it to be. It's not $100. So you don't hear much about that one. The other two are doing okay. So who knows? The Black BlackBerry could be a boom or a bust, guys. I have no idea. It's not a stock recommendation. I was just
Yeah.
surprised that I saw it out there. Couldn't believe it. I was like,
The
BlackBerry, what?
telegraph is coming back too. Did you know that?
Yeah,
You
exactly
can get
right.
some. You can get some ITT stock certificates on eBay for
Hmm.
$2.
Hmm.
It's going to the moon.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
canceled stock certificates, but so what?
Yeah. And any of you morning traders that do like to play reversals as well, I know we talk about it. And again, just as a parting shot, natural gas it's up 2.8% already this morning. It has just been flying.
Yeah. So
So yeah,
energies is where the volatility is today. Keep an eye on
yep.
oil and nat gas. All right.
Yep.
Well, with that, I did drop the link for this full blown hour long webinar. It's going to be in 3 hours. Join us. We'll go through everything: indices, foreign exchange, commodities. With that, if you got any questions for Nadex, please email us customer service at nadex.com. Got any questions for Brian? You can hit him up at support@keeptradingsimple.com. I don't think we've got anything else to cover for this morning. Um, we just kind of reviewed some technical levels in a few different things. But yeah, come back and join us in 3 hours. We'll do another full blown session and we'll take a look at what to potentially be looking at for later in the week. Good luck in the markets, everyone. We'll catch you later. Thanks.